The Arrest and the Dilemma. The Aftermath, Part 2. Jack had chosen to stay silent, hoping Vince would do the same. Vince, however, had confessed, driven by fear and self-preservation. The outcome was clear. Vince would walk free while Jack would face the maximum sentence of 30 years. When the news was delivered, Jack's face fell. He had trusted Vince, and that trust had been shattered. Vince, on the other hand, felt a mix of relief and guilt as he was released from the station. He avoided Jack's gaze as he walked out, the weight of his betrayal heavy on his shoulders. But freedom wasn't as sweet as Vince had imagined. The streets felt different now, colder and more dangerous. Without Jack, he was alone, and the criminal underworld wasn't kind to those who betrayed their partners. Whispers followed him wherever he went, and he could feel the target on his back growing larger by the day. Meanwhile, Jack was processed and sent to prison. The first few months were brutal, but he quickly adapted. He kept to himself, biding his time and plotting his next move. He knew Vince was out there, living the life that should have been his, and he knew deep down that their paths would cross again. Years passed. Vince, now a shadow of his former self, was constantly looking over his shoulder. He had tried to start over, but the past always caught up with him. One night, as he walked home from a bar, he felt a presence behind him. Before he could react, a voice spoke, a voice he hadn't heard in years. "Hello, Vince." He turned to see Jack, standing there with a cold, calculating smile. Jack had been released early for good behavior, and he had spent every day of his freedom preparing for this moment. Vince's heart raced as he realized the reckoning he had long feared was finally here. The two men stood face to face, the years of betrayal and resentment boiling to the surface. Jack had waited a long time for this, and he wasn't about to let Vince walk away again. The night was silent, the streets empty, as the two former partners faced off one last time. And then, the silence was broken. Not by words, but by the sound of a gunshot echoing through the night. The story of Jack and Vince serves as a cautionary tale about trust, betrayal, and the consequences of our choices. In the end, neither man truly won. Both were prisoners, one behind bars, the other trapped by his own guilt and fear. In the end, their choices led them down a path from which there was no escape.